brothers drop down to their knees and make newer popsicle sticks race down the curb into the sewer.
Welcome back to the Marathon Mortgage Happy Hour. I'm Mike Witzak.
My name is Rory Farrell, and we have a special guest here today. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Stephanie Honick.
And where do you work? How do we know you?
So, what, 8 years now, I
We were
think
just
we've
talking about it,
actually
like maybe a decade.
defined. So I work with Keller Williams and Bluebell.
Very cool. Yeah, it's a team, her team that we work with a lot. We've worked with for years, and we have a professional and personal relationship with a lot of the team members over there. So thank you for coming.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
What team is it, by the way? I don't even...
The Collective.
The Collective.
Oh, it's the Collective. Oh, okay.
Duh.
That made my bad. Sorry, didn't know that. What are we drinking today, Rory?
All right, cool. So you may notice that it is upside down, and there's a reason for that. This is the Warwick Wit from Warwick Brewing Company. It's a Belgian wheat.
Oh, cool.
And I think it's probably in the 5% range if I had to guess, 5.2. Belgian style. It's going to have a lot of wheat characteristics, a lot of like orangey characteristics. It's made with a specific kind of yeast. And the reason why it's upside down is because that yeast tends to settle. It's meant to be in there. It's not meant to be filtered out. And it continues to give it kind of flavors while it's being can conditioned. So let's pop it open.
Yeah, the things this guy knows about beer.
I feel like
I knew you were really smart with beer, but I feel like I'm learning a new Rory.
He's a nerd with beer.
There you go.
Because you brew it. You brew some, right?
Used to brew. Oh, this is a perfect segue into your life. I used to brew a lot more when I didn't have kids.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you can see it's a little opaque. It's definitely blonde. It's got a really nice orangey flavor to it.
It smells good.
This is a summer beer for sure.
Perfect.
And this was a special request because we don't do a lot of wheat beers. So thanks for getting us outside of our thanks for getting us outside of our comfort zone here. Cheers. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, initial thoughts.
That is good.
Yeah, that is very straight down the middle traditional Belgian wheat beer. It's very well made.
Yeah.
Gonna have a lot of clove, a lot of like I don't know, they call it the esters. It's a kind of like a grassier flavor that the Belgian yeast gives it. So,
I haven't said this in a while. Would buy a 4-pack.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
I miss a lot Mike. He's a
yeah.
Corona guy.
Are you?
Yeah, for sure.
So
I'm a spirits guy, actually.
Spirits guy.
Yeah, that's a big word.
He just learned that.
Yes, yeah.
He didn't know that. Keep in mind, he's 24.
Oh
He just got out of college, and he didn't know it. Liquor was called spirits.
I've heard it before, but when he said that on the podcast, I was like, what? And then I'm like, oh, yo. And he just, it was a guest we had on, John. Shout out John Petty. He came on and gifted me a bottle of whiskey for like having me on and stuff. And he was like telling me all about it. And then he says spirits on the podcast. And me as an idiot goes, what's spirits? And he's like, I just gave you this bottle of whiskey.
And
I just gave you spirits.
It was not a cheap bottle.
Oh.
No, it was a very expensive,
very
very nice, wasted on Mike bottle of whiskey.
It was not wasted on Mike because I've had one glass of that whiskey and I save it for very special occasions.
Special occasions.
Cool.
Here you go. Anyway.
That's great.
All right, so beer section's over. Let's talk about Steph. Let's talk. I mean, you want to add anything?
I'm just kidding.
Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your real estate career, your life outside of real estate.
Into it.
So I think we were just talking about pre-podcast when you started and how old you were, and I had mentioned that it's very rare for someone to like jump right into real estate that early on, and he jumped into being a loan officer that early on in life, and I jumped into it way after because I had a different career prior. So how did you get into real estate so early on?
Yeah, so fun story. I went to college for teaching, and I guess I was lucky because I always knew that I wanted to teach. Like I never had to think or double, like go through like, oh, what career am I going to do? So I always wanted to be a teacher. So I went to Westchester and for teaching, and then I graduated back then. So much older than you.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2011.
From college.
From college.
Yeah.
And I'm older than both of you by a bunch of years.
By a bunch of years?
I graduated college 07. Not a bunch, but significant
a couple
amount.
years.
Yeah, you're the oldest here. I'd like to point out he's the oldest here by far.
Well, it feels kind of good that I'm not the oldest in the room.
Nah,
I'll take it.
Good, you're fine.
So then after school, I couldn't find a teaching job because back then the teaching jobs were super hard to find. So then I got into bartending and serving and lived that whole restaurant world for a long time.
As did I.
Yeah. And then I actually got a job down in D.C. teaching, and I taught down there for 2 years.
You're like in D.C.?
Well, so it was technically the suburb of D.C. Okay. It was PG County in Maryland.
Okay, yeah.
And
Prince George?
I'm sorry.
Prince George?
Yeah.
Oh, my brother lives down there. He used to live down there.
Okay. What part?
He was in like Alexandria.
Okay. So that's like.
It's actually, it's funny, you might know them. They were also teachers.
Really?
Well,
Were they in Alexandria? Because Alexandria is like the really nice part of Virginia.
They were not there. Woodbridge?
Okay.
We'll have to talk. But I think
Yeah,
they
we
may
will.
have taught in Prince George.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, we'll talk off air.
So I was applying for like jobs in Jersey because that's kind of where I'm from, and
Sorry.
you don't
Oh,
like
it's
the
Jersey.
you don't like the wheat beer? Jersey, get out of here.
I was like, dude, do you not like Jersey that much? Bought a house there.
I said kind of from Jersey.
Kind of. All right. Sorry.
So then I taught for 2 years, and so it was actually really funny. I went down there to visit a friend, and I got a call down there, like got an interview on the spot for a school down there, and I was like, well, like who leaked my name down here? So then I went for the interview, and I got hired on the spot.
Wow.
And I just remember thinking, like, if I got hired on the spot, like this can't be good. So I called my dad up and I said, I got a job as a teacher. And he's like, oh my God, that's great. Where at? And I was like, oh, like down in Maryland. And then my brother looked up the school that I was at and they were like, you have a 1 in 4 chance of being killed. Like it was like, he was like, you have a 1 in 7 chance of getting mugged. Like he just went into like the straight statistics of everything.
Oh, wow.
And it was just, I mean, it was a really big learning curve. Like it was
Yeah.
it was difficult.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
was it worth it?
Yes,
Did you
I
enjoy
would
your
do it
time
again.
there? Did you?
Yeah,
Cool.
because I met some really great people down there. Some of the teachers I'm still friends with.
Yeah.
It was just teaching, like it was a struggling school, struggling neighborhood. So it was just it opened your eyes to a lot that
Yeah.
you guess you kind of like take for granted.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, just in and of itself there, just
Yeah.
like being, putting things in perspective and
Yeah.
how lucky we are to be in an area that
Yeah.
has great school districts and, all that. So,
Jeez.
and not being mugged.
Yeah, that's a great thing for your brother to call you up and be like, by the way, you have a 1 in 4
Well,
chance of
because
murder.
he's like a very numbers guy. Like he went and he saw, he like was like, these are your statistics. And my dad was like, you are not moving down there. And I was like, too late. Like I already took the job.
I said yes this morning.
I mean, like fresh out of college, you know, bartending, I'm making like, I was making good money, but then they put a salary in front of you and you're like, well, like,
Yeah, that's really.
can't say no. And it's a teaching job to get my foot into the door to teach
Yeah.
and then hopefully move back up here. And
So how long did you do it for?
2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then when
that
did
was
you
enough.
make the switch to real estate?
So it was in the summer after my job, and I had struggled because I taught kindergarten and then first grade, and I looped with the same students.
Oh, okay.
So it was nice, but also challenging because I had a lot of challenging students, and
Yeah.
So and then I was like in the summertime, and then my uncle Michael called me, and was like, "Are you going to teach again?" And I was like, "Oh, like I don't know. Like this is a last minute decision." So he was like, "Well, listen, you're going to go to real estate school. You're going to get your real estate license, and you're going to come work with us."
He
And
just
then I
made the
never
decision
questioned
for
it.
you.
Just never questioned it. I was like, "All right, cool."
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Like
got you back up this way. And
Yeah, well, because I always looked at him and his wife, my Aunt Mo. They were like kind of like my mentors, and I was like, like I want a life that they have. I want we have very similar values, family. So I was like, if he says it, I'm doing it.
Yeah,
So-
and you couldn't have been like that attached to the school if you got pulled that quickly
Yeah.
away from it. And not to say that you weren't attached, but there was probably something telling you like, hey, this is the right.
Yeah, it was just. So my second year down there, I think it was like we became a Title I school. So then now all of a sudden you don't just have your principal, you have like the government telling you what to do.
Wow.
And it was just we had lesson plans for each subject each day. And like you're teaching, like are you allowed to
Yeah,
say something?
especially. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So like shit just goes crazy. Like
Especially at that age, too.
especially when you have like 32 kids in one classroom. Like you're lucky if you can get a good day of teaching in,
Yeah.
because you're mostly just like parenting.
Yeah,
Like, in a
pulled
way.
in many directions, which
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out a way to segue that into real estate. What you do now, it's like it had to
Teaching.
be
Yeah.
like just great training, just skills.
Yes. The teaching, because I feel like that's like I don't want to say like embedded in me, but I always wanted to be a teacher, and now getting into real estate, I can teach people like how to buy a house, teach sellers like how to sell a house,
Yeah.
and like teach. So it's nice.
Yeah, I think more and more, especially as it gets competitive, is the educational component of
Yes.
being able to make sure. The way that I always feel is like I spend a lot of time on the phone with clients, and you do too. We do a lot of first-time home buyers, or like someone maybe hasn't bought in a long time, and just re-educating them and making them feel like, hey, I know what I'm talking about because Rory kind of taught me, and now I feel comfortable making the decision because I have the knowledge. It's not like I'm just not trusting me or trusting you. It's like I feel empowered to make the right decision by having all this knowledge.
Yep.
I think that goes a long way. It's like there's so much. I mean, you guys have the commissions and stuff, but like more goes into making someone feel comfortable working with you than just you know, how much, what's the rate, what's the fees, like, do I feel comfortable, do I feel like I'm not being screwed, do I feel like I can trust this person? So just having that to be able to pull from is huge in our industry, both of our industries.
Yeah. I mean, I love it now. I mean, doing it for 10 years now. Started at your age. So, I mean, it was great. I never like look back, and I mean, I do look back at times and wish I would have gotten into it sooner. But I also, when I did, I felt like a lot of people looked at me like, oh, you're young, you know? And
it's one nice thing about not seeing people in person. They don't have to think I'm young.
Yeah, except you're all over the internet because
a
product of social media.
I mean, I've been doing it for over 3 years now, so it's it's definitely helped. Okay. And I think when I got into it, and it was the end of the refi boom.
Came in at a tough time.
Yeah.
Well, I came in, it was like refi boom, so I got probably 3 years of experience in 6 months because it was just nonstop. Like everything was going crazy, and
working on Tom's clients at that point, it's like boom.
Well,
boom,
Tom was just
boom,
like putting stuff on my desk, and he's like, "Get this done, do this, figure this out, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Okay," and I'm just like running through it, and Tom's obviously checking everything, but it was like a ton of experience very quickly, and then.
Sink or swim.
And then it went from like, you know, peak of the peak to lowest of the low, and everybody stopped doing everything. And I'm like, is this what this is going to be like? Like, it sucks. And then...
and what we didn't know is, yes, that's what it's going to be like for the next
years.
2 years.
Yeah, so thankfully I've been able to grow over the past couple of years, but I think being able to say I've been doing it for 3 years helps combat the
for sure.
fact that I'm 24, you know.
And your beard makes you look slightly older.
Yeah, this is a new thing. I didn't know I can grow it.
It's better than the mustache you had 2 weeks ago.
I had to let the mustache get a head start. So, yeah.
But it is. It's like when you, especially when you are just young, and then also young in the industry, it's like, why would I trust you?
Right.
You know, so you have to, you know, get a couple years in the industry, and then also, you know, act and speak like you've been in the industry for a couple years. You know, so like,
well, especially being a realtor too. Like you're meeting with your clients, you're showing them homes, like you're talking, and if you look young, like they're gonna be like, what am I doing?
Well, especially if
Steph
you don't.
still looks young, so that's not what he was saying.
Thank you. Thanks. I will take it. But especially like in real estate, you know, you get a lot of experience yourself when you buy a house.
Sure. Yeah.
So it was once I bought my first house, it was like, wow, like now I know the stress my buyers are under. 'Cause I can hear it over the phone, you know, all hours of the night. But then it's when you're living it. It's totally different.
Yeah, it gives you perspective.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
I was just gonna say something and I forgot what I was gonna say. Doesn't matter. But and then what I was also gonna say prior to that is I came from the restaurant bar. And that is a huge benefit. I think coming from that and having that experience to be able to draw on from real estate, like customer service and like you know communication, being organized, all that stuff. That's what I was going to say. I'm so glad I circled back to this. One of the benefits, I think, and maybe speak to this, both of you, starting when you guys started is that's like kind of prime home buying time for first-time home buyers. Like, you know, your peers are buying homes in the 25, 26, 27 range.
Trying to buy.
Trying to,
correct. But you graduate college in, when did you say?
07.
No.
11.
11, right?
Yes.
Oh, so you were over, for some reason I'm thinking you got your license in like 09. But how was the market when you got into it?
So I started in 2015.
Okay.
I got my license. And then I started like officially January. Was it January of 15 or January of 16?
Well, if you got your license in 15,
I know. I can't.
Well, around that,
My brain's
15,
fried.
16. What was the market?
So the market was...
The market was really good.
Yeah.
And it was steady.
Nice.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the seller's market we're in now. It was calm. It wasn't overbidding, crazy, you know.
I bought our primary home in 16.
Okay.
And we looked for a while. Like we had time and there
Yeah.
wasn't like a crazy competition. So we ended up
Good time
looking
to
at
buy.
like 25 houses. Like
Okay.
and made offers and got offers accepted on 2 or 3 of them before we ended up going with one. So like it was just such a different market. I
So different.
can't imagine what it would be like. It would be super stressful to be a buyer right now.
And what did you do in the beginning to kind of get business? Were you just working on calling people and leads, or?
So not to make you get sick again, but being from Jersey.
I got it together. Sorry, guys.
So, like, being from New Jersey, I actually moved over here. I moved in with Michael. So the only people I knew over here in Pennsylvania was family, and they like had already had the connection with Michael. So I ended up trying to meet like friends, which is hard.
It's already hard.
It's hard meeting friends.
Yeah.
So I leaned a lot on our team, and then we would get like team leads. Is how I first started my business. That, and then I was a showing agent for every person on my team.
Yeah.
Anytime anyone needed a showing agent, I was like, "That's me. I'm your girl."
Yeah.
Like they're looking
Hustling.
an hour, half. That's me. I'll take it.
Yeah. Nice.
So I just like was such a hustler, go getter, and I didn't have kids, so like I was able to do that grind and like put all the work that I possibly could into it.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Well, that's you. I mean, you show up at random networking things. You show up at random open houses. Like,
Back off your point though of like making new friends. I was born in the city. I was born in Port Richmond, but then when I was like 7 or 8, we moved up to the Poconos. So I grew up in the Poconos, Jim Thorpe area. So when I was first starting like down here, it's like, how do you meet new people? Like, what do you do? You know? Yeah, it's a bizarre
hard.
thing. Like, and I don't want to go out to bars meeting people there. You know, it's not a great place to be, meeting people. So, just like random networking events, anything you could kind of do to be out there in front of realtors was kind of what I was trying to do. So.
Well, I feel like it's tougher for mortgage too because you guys are a lot of behind the scene work.
Yes.
Whereas like for us, like we're the ones physically showing them the home.
it's hard to develop a relationship. And even if you develop that relationship, especially with first-time home buyers and young people who are like every penny counts, and you finally got the house under contract, everyone's psyched, and then surprise. We've been working with you for 6 or 8 months. We've done all the work. We've called the listing agent. We've sent you pre-qualifications at Saturday at 8:00, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna shop you now."
I know.
And like I had a couple that I worked with for 2 years, and they really got into it like 2019, 2020-ish. But then rates started going up, it was 2020, 2021. Rates started going up.
That's when they started looking?
Freaking out. And
they were like, what, at 3%?
Yeah.
Oof.
And they just watched it go up and up. And then finally they like pulled the trigger. And they just swallowed it. Like, hey, I'm going to have a 7% rate. It is what it is. But for years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then they were like nickel and diming me over like $500. And I'm like, listen. Yeah. I feel like I've earned this, but I will give you the $500 if that means I'm going to get the business. But it's
it's tough.
Come on, man.
I just had that happen. I was working with my one friend, like a lender, and we were working with this couple for like, I guess it was a year and a half. And it's tough. It's tough. Like it's tough on my end too. When people, and I get it. Cause you got to do what's best.
Yeah.
It's never easy to.
Yeah.
And
business.
It's never,
And we have the same philosophy, and Tom has kind of instilled this philosophy on us is like, hey, listen, like do the right thing for the client, right? So at the end of the day, if there is a local lender that's trustworthy that or that they have a relationship with and they happen to be given a better rate, and it is what it is, like, sometimes you're just not the best. Yeah. What drives me the most, not just when they're like, well, Rocket says that we can get a 6.5.
Don't use Rocket.
I know what Rocket says. Do you want to settle? Do you want to settle?
Yeah, right.
So it's, there kind of goes back to what we talked about in the beginning. Like there is that level of like, hey, the relationship and the trust, and so hopefully that goes a long way, and it goes much further with people who are not first-time home buyers who, every $100 counts. Which, but it is what it is. If you're buying a house, maybe $100 counts, and that is fine. But it doesn't happen as often with like multiple repeat buyers or something. They're like 30s or 40s. So.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about happy things.
Yeah. Let's talk about wins.
Like beer. Yeah, we went to wins.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry.
Okay.
This is like prime content. How are your chickens?
It's funny.
Give Mike the backstory.
So, So I grew up in Philly.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Jersey. Don't.
I'm past it.
And then I moved out to like Conshohocken and then Collegeville, and now I'm like kind of out in the boonies a little bit. I love my area though.
What are the boonies?
Yeah. Is it Jim Thorpe boonies?
Yeah. No.
I grew up in a boonies.
Yes. Okay. So I'm like half boonie then.
Right,
so I'm like on the cusp.
It's all relative.
On the cusp of like Montgomery and Berks.
Got you.
So we moved out there, and we have a big backyard now, and I was like, oh, like, kind of be cool to get chickens. So then we went to Tractor Supply just to look, which is never a good idea.
With your children,
of course, with my kids.
So it's like bringing a kid into a pet shop.
Well, it was my husband was the one that we went in there, and we were just looking, and then he was like, oh, you know what? We should really get chickens. And I was like, I kind of just like threw that out there as a joke. Like, I don't know if I'm a chicken person. Like, chickens actually kind of scare me. So then we went to a farm like at the North Star Farm in Collegeville, and I was like near chickens, and they started chasing me.
Near chickens.
And I was like not happy. I'm like, these chickens scare me. Like I don't want. No, like we're not. This is too much.
I love this story.
So, what, do you not like chickens?
I've had chickens my entire life.
Did you? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then. Okay.
I'm very relatable to this story.
Got it.
Let's continue.
So then we ended up going to Tractor Supply. Then they didn't have the chickens. I don't think they had like a couple mixed chickens, but they couldn't guarantee the sex of the chicken, and obviously don't want a rooster.
And that's like a common thing, right? When they give you the chicks, you have no idea what you're getting.
You don't know.
We used to get them mailed to our house, right? So they would they mail the eggs. They hatch on the way there. So when you open up the box, the chickens are hatching, and you're playing roulette with if there's a rooster in there or not.
Yeah.
Do roosters taste good?
Yes, when they're grown. I mean,
okay.
yeah. You don't know.
I'm not getting my chickens. I'm not eating my chickens. I have.
But
them
if you have
for
a rooster
eggs.
and you don't want a rooster,
Yeah, you kind of gotta whack it.
But it's weird because what'd you say?
I said I know a lot of people that have whacked theirs. Like Mike, my buddy, he has like probably 24 chickens. He's killed all of his roosters. Like he gets roosters every time they get them.
I can't do it. It makes me sick thinking.
I'm not
about
asking you to do it.
Yeah, but if I name an animal
That's where you gotta draw the line.
and I name an animal, I can't.
Just name it Hitler or something. Like, make it a little easier.
Well, we named them all really cute names because we thought they were female, and we got 4, and then 1 ended up being a male.
Oh, so
So it
you
wasn't-
did get a rooster.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I know this is crazy. So my kids, like we all got attached to the rooster. His name was Moose, and he wasn't loud. He didn't like do his noises yet. But he was very like you would walk up and he has like feathers, and I'm like,
Oh, they're nasty. They'll come after you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because they protect their
Their
girls.
hens, yeah.
Yeah. So we started realizing like they were like a couple months old. We're like, all right, this is a rooster. So then I'm now part of a lot of Facebook groups for chickens.
Okay.
That's the sentence I'm sure I will never say.
This is
if-
beyond my scope of
If
chickens
you would
now.
have told me this years ago, I would have been like, you're crazy. Like, like I don't, whatever. So I'm that chicken person
Clip that
now.
part.
I've
That'll be our Instagram.
This
clip.
is hilarious.
I'm part of a Facebook group full of chickens.
No, do not put that. I'm tapping out. Nope. We're gonna have to remove that one from here. So yeah, we ended up. I found somebody that took roosters. They have a rooster farm. I don't want to know. So that I ended up just driving him over to a farm in Quakertown, and they took him. And
Oh, no shit. Damn, that's awesome. Got rid of the rooster. That's actually really cool.
yeah, and then it was like of course my kids are all crying when we're leaving the place.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's
this is really sucks. So
It's a good lesson to learn as a kid.
yeah.
Don't get a rooster.
Well, your kids.
Well, I mean, you can't. You don't know if you're getting them.
Yeah, it's like roulette.
So we're going back in a couple weeks to get a couple more.
There you go.
Okay,
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
What's
got
the
3.
best part about having chickens? What's the best?
fresh
and the
eggs.
worst?
The fresh eggs.
Okay, cool.
So it's my family. My kids eat eggs all the time.
Yeah,
Like my
that's good.
10-month-old loves eggs.
How old are your kids?
5, 3, and 10 months.
All right, they're not old enough yet. But when I was like 8 or 9 years old, that was my least favorite chore in the world was to clean the chicken coop out. My dad would hand me a shovel and a bag and be like, "Go clean the chicken coop out."
Oh.
We probably had 14 chickens at the time.
14.
Yeah, and it would be like Sunday morning, and I'm like, "You suck, dude."
That's kind of a shitty job.
yeah, literally.
It is. It
Literally.
is. I don't like doing it.
Yeah, so that was like one of my chores. I have so many. You brought up like so many memories of my childhood.
Good or I'm sorry. Here, you
Good
can have.
ones. Good ones. Good ones. Funny stories, crazy stuff.
Like I'm making you emotional. You're getting sick over here
All right, we
talking,
gotta
thinking
cut
about
this.
New
Stop,
Jersey.
stop.
yeah, this is ridiculous.
So what's the worst part then? If the eggs are obviously
The cleaning them out is the worst part. But my husband luckily does that for the most part.
Are they just regular hens, or do you have like a specific type of chicken that you?
So
got?
the chickens we just got them because they were cute. I didn't know anything else about them. Like the one we have is like black and white speckled. She gives us brown eggs.
Yep.
And then we have an olive egger,
Yep.
and she gives us green eggs.
Green. They're like
Right over my
yeah.
head.
I know.
yeah.
She's like a gray, pretty bird. And then we have like a straight black bird, and she gives us like
fun.
brown speckled eggs.
Yeah.
murdered out chicken.
The murdered out chicken.
Did you ever see those blackout chickens?
Yeah,
They're black
yeah.
on black.
Yeah, they're crazy looking.
Yeah.
They go for like $10,000.
They're saying there's some chickens are
Rory,
really
they're
expensive.
scary.
There's a guy that the roofing guy I detail for, John. He has chickens, and he has a certain type of chicken that has to be in a roofed cage because their fur's like almost like chinchilla fur. They can't get they're like
what you call
feathers or like fur. They can't get wet.
Is silky?
Yeah, it's silkies. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
They look like cats. Like
They
they're like
look-
Dr.
they're-
Seuss animals.
They're wild looking.
They're cool.
Wild looking.
I feel like I needed to get into a deep dive on.
Oh yeah.
chickens.
Just come over to my house. I want to get a silky really bad.
Yeah.
They look like little Dr. Seuss animals. They're fluffy.
They're really cool.
And they look furry. They're beautiful.
And when we lived in
think it's
Port
Dr.
Richmond,
Seuss's
so we
birthday
had 2 lots next to each other in Port Richmond. My dad had, he probably had half a dozen, so he had 6 chickens.
In Port Richmond?
In Port Richmond, dude. No, I have pictures of this too. Like in Port Richmond, in
Is
our
that even
backyard.
allowed?
That was a
Couldn't
long
tell
time
you.
ago.
Yeah, my dad definitely did not ask for permission.
Yeah.
So
He doesn't play by the rules.
he had probably 4 pygmy goats, 6 chickens, 3 turkeys, 2 dogs,
What?
and we had 2 potbelly pigs
In Philly?
in
This is,
Philadelphia.
I'm
In Port
sure
Richmond.
100% true.
In Port Richmond. I'm not.
If
I
you don't know
couldn't even
Mike,
be lying
you would
to
think it's false. I'm
Yeah,
sure it's
if you
true.
don't know me, you
said
definitely think I'm making
Potbelly
it up.
pigs.
We had 2 potbelly pigs. Yes, they were very large animals. Yeah.
And they just stay outside, obviously.
Yeah, we had a pen. My dad built a pen underneath our back porch for them. I'm not like I can't even. You. I know you don't know me. This is our first time meeting, but like I'm not lying.
That's. Could you imagine being a neighbor and seeing somebody like that in Philly?
Yeah, my dad had to kill the turkey because it tried coming after me when I was a kid. The pygmy goats we gave away to. Oh no! Somebody stole the pygmy goats. That's right. Somebody stole the pygmy goats out of our backyard.
What's that? What is it? A what?
A pygmy goat. So they're like miniature goats. They're like
Oh.
this big and they bounce and they
Aw.
scream.
They
and- yeah, they jump everywhere. Dude.
Yeah.
Crazy. But yeah, nothing about my farm life in Philly. But
I'm
yeah,
actually really intrigued now.
Yeah.
yeah.
The Philly
I want to see
farm boy.
pictures.
I have to get my dad to send me pictures. I've asked him before for them, and I delete them every time. But I'll have to get them. Yeah.
Well, if you want to come eat chickens, you can come over to my house. Bring
I
your
can't go
kids.
all the way out there.
It's like,
Just joking.
where do you live again? Wait,
Just Doylestown.
cut this.
50, 60.
Well, yeah, that's
No,
kind
I'm
of
just
high.
joking.
Okay.
Doylestown's far from everything. It's like close to everything, but it's far from everything. It's
Yeah.
like- it just seems like everything takes an hour to get to.
See, that's where I'm
That's
at.
not your fault. It's mine. All right. Do we have any wins? Do you have a win? Did we prepare you for that?
You kind of
Briefly.
briefly. Yeah, so I do have a win.
Okay.
Oh,
Let's hit
yeah.
it.
So I was my one friend. His mom was looking to sell her house, and she was going to do it for sale by owner. And
Is that like fingers on the
no, so
chalkboard for
like given like their like kind of their like situation, what's going on, like I didn't even want to like I just fully supportive. Like whatever you need, if you
Sure.
want me to help anyway, I'll help
Yeah.
you. And you don't have to pay me, like maybe in donuts, but like you don't have to like just you don't have to
Yeah.
pay me. And then it got to the point where I guess she's just was getting overwhelmed before even actually like starting to sell like put it on the market. So then she ended up hiring me.
Awesome.
Awesome.
See,
Photos are
doing
being
the
done
right
today.
thing the first
Yeah.
time around, and then
Yeah.
that will, whether it was with that client or maybe
Yeah.
yielding it with, a referral or something. It's
Yeah,
like doing the right thing is always.
well, because her son, my husband's coworker, is like my number one client.
Oh, okay.
He's like amazing.
Cool.
Nice. Awesome.
So that's cool. That's my good win.
All right.
What's your win?
It's serendipitous that you are here today because someone on your team we pre-qualified for their client has a verbal today. So
Oh.
To the sewer, the next American hangman, sketched in crayon, gangland, all